Sorry, guys. Hi. It's me, Mr. Kraus. Cheers. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Gotta love the delicious stuff that's got a little bit of go in it. Um, what we're talking about for Mr. Kraus's class, I'm a teacher here, English teacher here at Downey High School, is a technique we use for expository writing. Expository is just a fancy word. This is your answer to the first question. It's just a fancy way of explaining, incorporating someone else's words into your own writing. In other words, including quotes or statements from other sources, i.e. books, magazines, newspapers, quotes of famous people. One question, I think I didn't add it, but I'm going to, and that's going to be, why would you want to do this, right? So I'm going to add that question really quick. And the answer should sound very clear to you that have been reviewing your three appeals of good rhetoric, and that's ethos or ethos. And ethos is about the believability, the respectability, the qualifications that a speaker or writer demonstrates. In other words, if you quote, say, LeBron James and you're talking about basketball, you buy or you gain just a little bit of his credibility added to your own for including his words in your explanation or persuasive discussion about any particular topic related to, of course, basketball. So again, expository writing, including or incorporating someone else's words, i.e. from a book, a newspaper, or quoting someone famous in your own writing. So including someone else's words in your own writing. Why would one want to use this technique? And that is to develop, to increase the ethos, to increase your ability to persuade people by changing their perception of you as credible and wise or knowledgeable about the given subject matter. 3, what technique or recipe do we use? We use CQT, as in C, I don't know the sign for Q, I should look that up, and T. We use CQT, context, quote, and tie-in. So that's answers to your question number 4. What's missing from the recipe of CQT? This is one thing I like to decry to my colleagues. It's missing a topic sentence. Topic sentences should be that clear sentence that has 2 important ingredients in it. This is the answer to number 6. It should address the prompt, and it should have a short, quick hint at what your tie-in or your explanation is going to be about. In other words, it should address the prompt, and it should have a short because clause. By the time you're watching this video with Mr. Kraus, you know there are lots of synonyms and different techniques for the because clause, and of course you should be addressing the prompt, right? Number 7, what are 4 characteristics of a strong C? We now know that that's context. It should start with in the story. If you happen to do a play, it should be in the play, or obviously a little bit more descriptive than that. That's number 1. Number 2, it should be in present tense if it's about fiction. Number 3, it should be 2 to 3 sentences of what occurs before the quote. If you underline before the quote, if you circle before the quote, and if you highlight before that individual word, which is subsequently followed by the words the quote. So if you highlight, underline, and circle the word before, I will give you an extra credit point. So just a little bit of help for you guys. So that was number 3. The 4th component of a strong context in your academic writing, it would inevitably end with a good, clear signal phrase. A signal phrase is the very end, right before the quote. If you happen to have recalled Romeo and Juliet, Friar Lawrence says, "We will make short work to Holy Church incorporate 2 into 1." Something like that. I'm butchering that a little bit off the cuff. Again, the signal phrase is the example Friar Lawrence says, comma. Now, what is an example of a signal phrase? It would be Friar Lawrence states, comma, Friar Lawrence says, comma. What is the weakest verb one can use in his or her signal phrase? Well, it is definitely says. I would argue states is likewise nearly as weak, but obviously a little bit nerdier. So several strong examples might be replies, responds, as in characters talking back to a question or another character's comment. So replies or responds, and then oftentimes characters can exclaim, can proclaim. Exclaim would be exclamation mark, right? So yell or shout. Proclaim would be to put forth a strong opinion about an idea or to make a bold statement. So proclaim. I'm drawing a blank this early in the morning. How about whines or grumbles? Those examples might be really appropriate for a character like good old Lenny, or perhaps your sophomore year, if you still come in contact with a character named Scout who doesn't want to go to school, you could understand how whines or grumbles would be fantastic words instead of just the weak says. Taking a look at quoting of CQT, this is general text, so make sure you just have your regular double quote mark. It's going to tell you to put inside parentheses, so double quote mark, your regular quote marks, space, and then you're going to put the author's last name, Steinbeck, space 58, close parentheses, and a period at the very end. That's all you need. This one, number 11, is all about dialogue, so it's very similar. However, it's triple quote marks right here, triple quote marks right here again, and then you're going to end with Steinbeck, and this one occurs on 59. So Steinbeck 59, close the parentheses, and put a period at the end. Just couldn't help myself with this little, I feel like you guys might do this on purpose to be funny, but it's not good for your grade when you write for Mr. Krause. How many periods are used in a sentence? Just what? Please. That's an inside joke for those of you that have suffered through my class for a little while. How much is the T worth? The T is the tie-in, the analysis of your quotes, of your evidence that you brought forth to bear in your argument. And the T is worth double for every English teacher here on campus. Some of us, myself included, count it triple or 3 times the value. So it's really important. What is the purpose of T? The purpose of T, or tie-in, is to tie the evidence into your topic sentence. In other words, how does the quote, so this is what the purpose is. The purpose of the quote is to explain how the quote supports the opinion in the topic sentence. If you say a particular character like Lenny is dedicated or loyal, perhaps, and then you give a quote like, no one better talk no heard about George. Well, in the analysis, in the tie-in, you're going to talk about how this shows, this demonstrates, this reveals, this depicts Lenny's willingness to go the extra mile to protect and to preserve his best friend's reputation, his best friend's standing in the community, right? He's going to stand up for his friend, something like that. So again, what is the purpose of T? To explain how the quote connects to the topic sentence. What is the nickname for the concluding sentence of a T called in Mr. Krause's classroom? Clinch that argument. I'd like a good, strong sentence that starts with a fancy so, incorporates a really good word for shows, and restates the topic sentence. That's what a clincher does. So that led me to this last question. I'm skipping around. I'll come back to these other two just briefly. What's some good words for shows? I've been saying them if you've been paying attention. Demonstrates, reveals, depicts, illustrates. These are all fantastic words to use in your writing. Instead of saying this shows, right? Flex. Demonstrate your ability to wield fantastic words at your disposal. When writing about fiction, you need to use present tense. What are literary terms? Literary terms or devices are what we teachers use or what writers use to describe the different aspects or characteristics of good stories. Number 1 should be conflict. There is no good story without conflict. And you can think of a C word besides conflict, might be character, conflict, setting. Don't forget setting is 2 things, time and place, which you should refer to in your context and in your background information in larger essays. Setting, conflict, character. How about the names of different types of character. You have protagonist, antagonist. You can mention a side character, flat characters. That's a really good term. Foil was one of my favorite literary terms. It is the character who is a dramatic opposite to you, right? All right, so those are a bunch of literary terms for you guys. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything. And that concludes your expository paragraph review. Really, it should say CQT. Your CQT review for Mr. Carlos here at the end of the semester. Hey, guys, hang in there and wait 1 second. I'll be right with you. You know, everyone's concerned about their grades. Just take a deep breath. We're going to get through this. See you soon.